Here had I come with a notebook and a pencil, proposing to spend a morning reading, supposing that at the end of the morning I should have transferred the truth to my notebook. But I should need to be a herd of elephants, I thought, and a wilderness of spiders, desperately referring to the animals which are reputed longest lived and most multitudinously eyed, to cope with all this. In despair, I began running my eye up and down the long list of titles. Even the names of the books gave me food for thought. It was the most strange phenomenon, and apparently, here I consulted the letter M, one confined to the male sex. So, making a perfectly arbitrary choice of a dozen volumes or so, I sent my slips of paper to lie in the wire tray, and waited in my stall among the other seekers for the essential oil of truth. So I pondered until all such frivolous thoughts were ended by an avalanche of books sliding down onto the desk in front of me. Now the trouble began. The student, who has been trained in research at Oxbridge, has no doubt some method of shepherding his question past all distractions till it runs into his answer as a sheep runs into its pen. The student by my side, for instance, who was copying assiduously from a scientific manual was, I felt sure, extracting pure nuggets of the essential ore every 10 minutes or so. His little grunts of satisfaction indicated so much. But if, unfortunately, one has no training in a university, the question, far from being shepherded into its pen, flies like a frightened flock hither and thither, helter-skelter, pursued by a whole pack of hounds. Professors, schoolmasters, sociologists, clergymen, novelists, essayists, journalists, men who had no qualifications save that they were not women, chased my simple and single question. Why are women poor? Until it became 50 questions, until the 50 questions leapt frantically into midstream and were carried away. Every page in my notebook was scribbled over with notes. To show the state of mind I was in, I will read you a few of them. Condition in the Middle Ages of, habitats in the Fiji Islands of, worshipped as goddesses by, weaker in moral sense than, idealism of, greater conscientiousness of, South Sea Islanders' age of puberty among, attractiveness of, offered as sacrifice to, small size of brain of, profounder subconscious of, less hair on the body of, mental, moral, and physical inferiority of, love of children of, greater length of life of, weaker muscles of, strength of affections of, vanity of, higher education of, Shakespeare's opinion of, Lord Birkenhead's opinion of, Dean Ing's opinion of, La Bruere's opinion of, Dr. Johnson's opinion of, Mr. Oscar Browning's opinion of. Here I drew breath and added, indeed, in the margin, why does Samuel Butler say, wise men never say what they think of women? Wise men never seem to say anything else, apparently. But I continued, leaning back in my chair and looking at the vast dome in which I was a single, but now somewhat harassed thought. That is so unfortunate is that wise men never think the same thing about women. Here is Pope. Most women have no character at all, and here is La Bruere. Women are extreme. They are better or worse than men. A direct contradiction by keen observers who were contemporary. Wherever one looked, men thought about women and thought differently. It was impossible to make head or tail of it, I decided. Glancing with envy at the reader next door, who was making the neatest abstracts, headed often with an A or a B or a C, while my own notebook rioted with the wildest scribble of contradictory jottings. It was distressing, it was bewildering, it was humiliating. Truth had run through my fingers. Every drop had escaped. While I pondered, I had unconsciously, in my listlessness, in my desperation, been drawing a picture where I should, like my neighbor, have been writing a conclusion. I had been drawing a face, a figure. It was the face of a figure of Professor Von X, engaged in writing his monumental work entitled the mental, moral, and physical inferiority of the female sex. He was not, in my picture, a man attractive to women. He was heavily built. He had a great jowl. To balance that he had very small eyes, he was very red in the face. His expression suggested he was laboring under some emotion that made him jab his pen on the paper as if he were killing some noxious insect as he wrote. But even when he had killed it, that did not satisfy him. He must go on killing it, and, even so, some cause for anger and irritation remained. Whatever the reason, the professor made it look very angry and very ugly in my sketch, as he wrote his great book upon the mental, moral, and physical inferiority of women. Drawing pictures was an idle way of finishing an unprofitable morning's work, yet it is in our idleness, in our dreams, that the submerged truth sometimes comes to the top. Anger had snatched my pencil while I dreamt. But what was anger doing there? Had Anger, the black snake, been lurking among them? Yes, said the sketch, Anger had. It referred me unmistakably to the one book, to the one phrase which had roused the demon. It was the professor's statement about the mental, moral, and physical inferiority of women. I had flushed with anger. There was nothing specially remarkable, however foolish, in that. One does not like to be told that one is naturally the inferior of a little man. I looked at the student next to me, who breathes hard, wears a ready-made tie, and has not shaved this fortnight. One has certain foolish vanities. It is only human nature, I reflected, and began drawing cartwheels and circles over the angry professor's face till he looked like a burning bush or flaming comet. Anyhow, an apparition without human semblance or significance.